Good morning, guys. I hope all of you are well. So, today I'm gonna be solving one of the interview questions that I once got. And at first, when I read the problem, I was like, okay, what is going on? How am I gonna solve this? But later, I realized that this is actually the simplest interview question I ever got. So, because that's when people try to trick you, but if you just calm down and then try to read through everything, you will always do well in your technical interviews. All right. So the problem that this company asked me, it was one of those like well-respected companies. So at that time, I was also panicking, but fortunately, I managed to solve it. So the question was, uh, Princess Fiona's circle of gold covered with glass was the most valuable circle in Zawadi kingdom. Her, guard, her guards were tasked to protect it. However, they were not allowed to step on it or touch it, even by the tip of their royal shoes. The most valuable gold in the circle was kept at the center 00. And the first question was, if the distance from the valuable goal to the circumference is 3 meters, write a function that can help Princess Fiona see if any of the guards stepped on the circle of gold or touched the circle of gold. And the second question was, use the function to check if the guard who stepped at 2 and 3 stepped on the circle of gold. So basically, this 2 and 3 is just a point to check. And they said I should assume that, okay, everything is in meters. I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's not a problem. However, when you just look at this problem, you'll panic and think, okay, what do I have to solve here exactly? It is pretty simple. This is more of a maths problem than a coding problem. So we need to break things down before we start coding. If you check what we are given here, there is just like some keyword. The first thing that we have to look at, they said the most valuable gold in the circle was kept at the center 00. So just picture this as a circle with a center point 00, and they already talk about the distance from the variable goal to the circumference. Remember that the variable goal is at the center 00, and then the circumference is to the distance to the circumference is 3 meters. What does that tell you? Already you are given a radius. So if you look at what we already know from grade 10 mathematics, if you have a circle like this, 0, that's the origin, and then the distance from the circle to the circumference here is 3. Okay, this is actually the picture of that problem that they gave us. Mind you, this wasn't given, it's just like a sketch I throw out, and then this is what I know, that the distance from like distance, if you are given 2 points, of course, the second point minus the first point x value squared plus the second point y value minus the first point y value squared. So here we're gonna be working with these 2 points. We have 0 0 and 2 and 3. But before that, we're just gonna use that for the second question. For now, we need to solve the main problem. We need to find out if the distance, like we need to write a function that can help Fiona to see if any of the guards touch the circle of gold. So that function will always accept the point. In this case, like the second question, we have 2 and 3. Let's just jump right straight into it. Well, I'm just gonna create a new project for this. CD project. CD. Okay, I'm gonna make a folder called YouTube. Oops, okay, it's already exist. I see YouTube there. Now let's just go into YouTube. I'm gonna use this folder to save all my tutorials, my Python tutorials for YouTube. So the first one that I'm having over there is I'm gonna call this Fiona. Let's just say touch fiona.py. Now I'm gonna open it with VS Code. Well, Visual Studio Code is one of my favorite text editor. I use. Okay, I was working on something here. I don't want you. I wanna run this guy. All right. Now, because we already know what we are trying to solve, I'm just gonna move this to the other screen, and then I'm gonna start coding right away. Okay, first of all, we need to define this function. We're gonna call this function, it's gonna be a boolean function, is in circle. We're gonna use this function to check if they got stepped on the circle of gold. So just a few comments over there. For the guard to step on the circle of gold, the distance from the center of the gold circle to okay, just to make this more simple, I'll say for the guard to step on the circle of gold, the distance from the origin to the point where the guard stepped should be less than the radius. The radius of the circle of gold. Well, it means for us to create like a useful function, we are compelled to say, okay, this function must take in the radius. It's just gonna take r, the radius. It's just the radius of the circle, and then it's also gonna take in the point x and y. So I will just say, I'll call this xp yp. All right, just to make things easier, I'll just call it x and y, because we already know this thing is our circle is centered at the origin. But now we first need to calculate the distance. We need to calculate the distance between the origin and this point, any point that we are given at a particular time. So we're gonna use this friend over here. think I showed you guys before I started. I showed you the formula that we can use. So this is the distance formula that we are going to use. All right. So we're just gonna have d is equal to, or first of all, we need to import math, like this math module. Import math. And now we're gonna say d is equal to math dot square root, because the entire thing is in a square root. So we first say it's gonna be, it can be x minus 0. We already know that it's 0 over there, the other point, squared. But when we square in Python, we can just use like a double star and then put our 2 over there, and we're gonna add that to the difference on the y side. So it's y minus 0. We square that as well. All right, so this will give us our distance. But if you just look at this is a bit ugly, because we already know that this is 0. It's not going to make any difference, so we can just say, okay, let's just leave this at x squared, just the square root of x squared plus y squared, just to keep our calculation simple. All right, this will give us our distance. Then we need to check if this distance is actually greater than r. So the first statement is, if this distance is less than, or or equal to r, it means we have to return we it means we have to return true. It means the point is in the circle, or in the or is actually on the circle or on the circumference. So it means the guard indeed touched the circle. But here's the problem. With this approach, we can say return true, right? Otherwise, return false. But wait, hold on. This function only returns true or false. So what is the point of even having that if statement? We can always just like write everything in one line and say, instead of all this, we can reduce this code and write everything in one line, and then just say return d is less than, return d less than or equal to r. This will give us what we want. You see, it's just a function that is written in 2 lines. But because at the time when we are writing this technical assessment, especially, it's more like a whiteboard challenge, like you really find it hard, like to think on the spot. So the trick to it is to just calm down and then start analyzing the problem, writing everything that you know, and then jump into writing your code. So now the second part of Princess Fiona's question is to actually use our function to check if this point 2 and 3, we need to check if that guard actually stepped at 2 and 3. It's the guard stepped on the circle of gold. So that is easy. What we're gonna do is we're gonna say, okay, cool, I'm just gonna call this point cut point. We know that the cut point is I'm just gonna make it an array for now. So we are looking at 2 and 3. Or I'm gonna call it cut x is 2 and cut point x, then cut point y is 3. Now we need to find out. Alright, so we're gonna use our function to check for us. I'm just gonna say print is in second, and then I'm gonna put in the values that we have. First of all, I know that the radius of this of the princess circle of gold is 3, and I know that here this got stepped at point 2 and 3. Right, now let's run our function and see if we are right. Okay, I'm just gonna run my function over here. Let me just clear this thing, and then I'm gonna maximize it a bit. So if you see here, you see I already have Fiona, so I'm gonna run this with python 3 fiona dot py. There we go. So the gut didn't step on Fiona's circle. That was very easy to check. It didn't even take us that long. So now you have solved question 1 and question 2. I hope you guys are gonna enjoy my videos. I'm gonna keep doing more of these, and then if you have maybe one of the challenges that you experience while doing your interview, your technical interview, just drop them below the comments. I'm gonna solve them for you and I'll make a video. So I'm planning to make about 1 or 2 videos, and I'm gonna make videos in other languages as well, in isiZulu and isiXhosa. Well, I'm still learning so too. All right, let me just stop recording this video.